and welcome. Welcome to this final lecture in the series as regards Module 1 of our course on drought. My name is Richard Byron Cox. Before I go into the lecture itself, let me thank you again for being part of this course and for being here today. And thank you for sharing this course with others. Today, what we're really going to do is just do a very brief recap of the salient points that we covered in the first 5 lectures as regards this module. So today, I will just look briefly at the features of drought, then I'll look at the importance of drought, and then finally, I'll look at the question as to where do droughts actually occur. Now, as regards the features of drought, as I said in a previous lecture, there are different definitions as to what drought is. But what we do know is that drought usually begins with less precipitation, less rainfall, less snow, less sleet, things like that. And also with an increase in temperature, which then causes more evaporation of water from the soil. And this leads, of course, to dryness, okay? In other words, what we see from that is first and foremost a scarcity or shortage of water. That's the first thing. Secondly, we must remember that drought is an extended period of dryness. It's not 2 or 3 days. No, that's not a drought. That's just, one day without rain or whatever. But a drought is an extended thing, okay? It can happen for a season. It can happen for years. So we have to remember that. Thirdly, drought occurs slowly, okay? It's not like a hurricane or it's not like a storm or an earthquake, which happens suddenly, bang, things are broken in 2 minutes. No, droughts take a long time. They slowly progress, okay? Outside of that, what we have to understand is that because of the nature of drought, in other words, because it causes a shortage of water, it has a series of impacts. These impacts are different, okay? And so we have come to understand, the statistics show that drought have more impact than any other natural hazard known to us as human beings. And because of that, we should pay great attention to it. Outside of that, we must remember that no region basically, well, very few regions of this world can claim that they are immune to drought. No, droughts happen in different parts of this world. So it is important for us to understand this, that drought is something that affects us globally. And this is why we have this course. Now, the importance of drought in a more detailed format, well, in the first place, as I've said before, it occurs in different places. And it probably haven't visited you yet, but probably it will. And even if it doesn't visit you, the impacts of it, right, can be indirect to you. In other words, it can indirectly affect you. Now, it is important that you understand that, as I have explained earlier, this affects human habitation, in other words, us, we living people, and it affects our total environment in one way or the other. That's 2. 3 is that the consequences of drought are not just in one little bracket, one little area. No, the consequences of drought are social, they are economic, they are political, and many others. They cause serious disruption in various areas of our lives. And we need to understand that. So, for example, drought can cause displacement of people, okay? It sometimes leads to conflict and ultimately leads to death. And this is why drought is so important to us. But more than that, there are 2 other facts which we need to understand. Scientists are now predicting that because of climate change, droughts are going to be more, they're going to be longer, they're going to be more severe, more intense. In other words, what we're going to face in the future is greater impacts from drought. And as I've said before, it might not have visited you yet, but who knows when it's going to visit you. And even if it does not visit you, the indirect impacts on you are sure to come soon or later. And the last point about this is this, that we have now what is called Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17 in all. And I can assure you that with drought, our achieving these things, our realization of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are going to be more difficult globally speaking. So you see, drought is important not just today, but tomorrow and in the future as regards the overall sustainable development of our planet. Now, where do drought occur? Well, as I have explained in a previous lecture, there are regions of this world which are more prone to drought. So we know, for example, the Sahel and the Horn of Africa. Those are two regions which are seriously prone to drought. But it's not just the Sahel and the Horn. Generally speaking, across Africa, down to Southern Africa, okay, drought from time to time affect various countries. So this continent, Africa, okay, do suffer from drought in its various parts, not just in the Horn or in the Sahel. But let's move from Africa and go to the Americas. Yes, drought do occur in the Americas, and quite frequently sometimes, from North to South to Central America. Matter of fact, in one of the lectures, we discussed the issue of the Dust Bowl in North America, which affected both the United States and Canada. Okay, but then we can move on from there, and we can go to what is called the MENA region, which is the Middle East and North Africa. This region is one of the most water-scarce regions of the world. And when drought occurs there, it makes that condition even worse. So that is the situation with the MENA. But what about Asia? Does drought affect Asia? Well, as you know, as I read in a previous lecture, drought affects Asia from India and Pakistan to Afghanistan and Sri Lanka. It affects Asia. South Asia, Southeast Asia, right? Drought is prevalent in those areas as well. It affects those areas. And we could jump over to Australia. As I've said in a previous lecture, from 1860 and onwards, Australia has seen many droughts, and some of them have been quite severe, leading not just to a fall in agricultural production and so on and so forth, but also to wildfires and even deaths, okay? And Europe, oh, let's not forget Europe. Yes, drought affects Europe. And we know, for example, countries like Spain and Italy, even the production of some agricultural products, such as olive oil, have been affected over the years in Europe. So the point is this, that drought is truly and really a global phenomenon. And what is interesting, as I have said before, in the future, according to the scientists, according to their predictions, we're going to have more droughts, longer droughts, more intense droughts, okay? And therefore, it is important that we all of us across this globe, know something about drought, know what we have to do to handle it, to deal with it, to mitigate it. And this is why we're having this series, this e-learning course and this series of lectures, so as to help the public at large understand what is drought. So that is a small recap of what took place as regards the lectures we had for Module 1. The next lecture will be the first in the series concerning Module 2. That series concerns two basic questions. The first is the spiraling effects of drought. In other words, the different areas in which drought affects our lives. And secondly, we will tackle the question of the severity, the frequency, the spatial extent, and the intensity of droughts as they are going to come more and more in the future. Finally, let me remind you that you should read the suggested reading material, and also that we are here to assist you whenever you should need such assistance. You just have to give us a call or drop us an email, and you will have your answer within 48 hours. Until the beginning of our next lecture, my name is Richard Byron Cox. Have a great day.
Woo!